Take me in, tender woman, take me in, for heaven's sake, take me in, tender woman. So Oscar Brown Jr. gets 3 nods from me on this album. One is Brown Baby, the other is Mr. Kicks, and the other is The Snake. So I got to start with The Snake first because it's maybe not the most important, but it's the very first song of his that I ever remember hearing, and I have to thank my mom for that. My sisters and I were in the car with my mom, and we were talking or doing whatever, goofing off, and the song came on the radio, and it was old at the time. And she made us stop. She just stopped all conversation in the car. She says, "You girls, stop. This song is really old and you need to listen to it." So I loved the story of the song. And I fell in love with Oscar's work at that moment because there was something unique about someone who was really going to tell a story. The Snake is the first one you hear. And it's a way of celebrating my mother's contribution to my music, and to Oscar's wit and talent. When we were doing The Snake, I was pretty stubborn about what I wanted the arrangement to be like. I definitely wanted the feel of Peggy Lee's arrangement of Fever. And so it has that feel, and I love Oscar's story, and I just wanted to keep it really simple. Then Trevor said, "I think he needs a trumpet solo." I wasn't really sure about that because I felt like the Snake needed to be sneaky. So he said, "Well, let me try something." He says, let me call Scotty Barnard, whom Trevor works with. Scotty Barnard is the director of the Count Basie Orchestra. He says, "Let me have Scotty do it." And so, sure enough, Scotty did it, and it just adds so much to the tune. But in addition to that, the other thing that Trevor did that I really wasn't sure about, he said, "You know, you're doing a good job of like having the voice of the woman and having the voice of the snake." He says, "But," he says, "I think you need like a male voice in the snake's voice underneath yours to just give it that sinister sound." And he says, let me try. Let me do it." So he did it, and we had great fun with that one because this time I was with the sound engineer, and he was in the booth, and he's the one who's singing. And so, or not singing, but he's like speaking. And so I got to direct him, and I made the most of it. And I think he'll attest to it. I made the most of it. But part of it was really that song is a seduction, and then it's a murder. And so the snake's voice has to reflect the seduction and the murder. And so if you listen to Trevor's voice underneath mine, I think you'll hear that. But I'm grateful to the two of them for the spice they added to a tune I love greatly. So then also is Brown Baby. Brown Baby is important because Oscar was very involved in the civil rights movement, and his children were born during that time. And it's a lullaby he wrote for his children. Remember, his last name is Brown. And it talks about his hopes and his dreams for his children in that time. What's also really interesting about the song is, and about Oscar's work, is that really it is timeless. And where we are right now, I think that the song has just as much relevance and importance as it did during the civil rights era. The last tune is Mr. Kicks. And it was the theme song for a musical that Oscar wrote called Kicks and Company. And it's about the devil and the trouble the devil can get you into. And again, it really exhibits his brilliance as a songwriter and his wonderful way with a lyric. I wanted to make sure that I did what's known as his theme song. And so Mr. Kicks is there too.
So look him up most anytime. The name is Mr. Kicks.